There are concerns New York City schools will struggle to fill empty spots left by unvaccinated staff members today. Mayor Bill de Blasio says 95% of public school staffers were vaccinated by Monday morning. But that means thousands of employees still do not have at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine. Starting today, unvaccinated staff will be suspended without pay. Substitute teachers and paraprofessionals will be in New York City schools today in an attempt to fill those gaps. Similar vaccine measures and mask mandates are in place, but many are being disputed across the country. Keir Dougall joins me now. He's a CBS News legal contributor and former federal prosecutor. Welcome, Keir. Great to see you. So as you know, a judge ruled against New York City teachers and staff who wanted to stop the vaccine mandate before it was implemented. Is there any other legal maneuvering left for these groups?
Yeah, sure. There's still a potential final appeal, as I understand it, on the merits to the Supreme Court. But Tanya, if we could, with these questions, I would like to step back for 1 second and just put a general framework around it. I think the core issue here is that societies have the right, they've always had the right to defend themselves against threats, as long as those threats are real and as long as the measures taken are reasonable and rational. And so since at least to the early 1900s, we have Supreme Court precedent saying that individual rights can be qualified as long as the qualifications are not discriminatory. Individual rights such as free speech rights, such as religious liberty rights, they can be qualified in the face of a threat to a society as long as the measures taken are reasonable and rational. So that's the framework that this requirement, this condition that the New York City schools have imposed upon these employees. That's the framework for it. And the courts so far have held that, that the condition that you make your choice, you either get vaccinated so you can go to work, or you choose not to get vaccinated and you lose, you lose your employment, that's a reasonable choice based on the science in the face of a public pandemic.
And is that the framework also that could be expected to be applied in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has been fighting for months to ban mask mandates in the state's schools? So some schools are saying we are going to mandate masks regardless of the governor's dictate. So where does that legal battle in Florida stand?
Right, so that's exactly right, Tanya. It's the same core set of questions. And in Florida, it's being framed by Governor DeSantis as the Parents' Bill of Rights. Should parents have the right to make decisions for their children? Well, of course, under most normal circumstances, the answer to that is yes. The question is, in the face of a pandemic where the CDC says that particularly for children aged under 11 for whom we do not yet have an approved vaccine, masks are an effective way of reducing the spread of COVID. The question there is, can a parent's rights to make decisions for their children, can those rights be qualified for the greater good of the Florida school system? And the procedural posture, as I understand it, in Florida is kind of the opposite of the one in New York, right? So the court in New York said the requirement for the vaccines for teachers is okay. The teachers tried to get a stay, and that stay was denied. In Florida, it's the same, effectively the same posture. A trial court said that the mask mandate was okay, but an appellate level court imposed a stay on that ruling while the merits decision in Florida could take place. So we don't have a final answer in Florida.
And what about in Texas? How is this legal framework at play in Texas, where a court of appeals is requiring El Paso, Texas, to temporarily lift its mask mandate policy, even though this doesn't apply to everyone? First off, who's not exempt, and is this a similar legal framework to the one we've been discussing in Florida and New York?
Yeah, it is the same legal framework. So I want to be careful to distinguish between public sector employment, like teachers in the public schools and state agencies, versus private sector employment. So in the private sector, the employers have a sort of much greater freedom of action, right? They're allowing customers, they're hiring workers to come onto their premises, and they can set. They have much more freedom to set conditions for the workplace and for the retail spaces than a government would in the public sector. Now in Texas, as I understand it, their Supreme Court has effectively upheld a ban in schools on mask requirements based upon a particular Texas law, the Texas Disaster Act of 1975, which gives the governor some specific emergency powers, which the Supreme Court of Texas has upheld. But what I think we need to wait and see is whether or not sort of these federal questions about the requirement that a government act not discriminatorily in a way that ultimately is rational. These challenges are difficult, but what I think we need to wait to see in Texas is whether or not some of these federal challenges are taken up and whether or not they go forward.
All right. Well, Keir Dougall, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate you sharing your legal expertise with us.
Tanya, thank you.